It was a stormy Friday night. I remember because the power had just gone out, leaving the house in complete darkness. I was home alone. My parents were out of town, and I'd convinced myself I was too old to be scared of a little thunder. I lit a few candles, grabbed a flashlight, and settled in on the couch to wait it out. Everything was fine until I heard it. At first, I thought I was imagining things, a soft tapping sound. It wasn't loud, more like someone gently knocking. I froze. The sound was coming from the basement door. My first thought? It's just the wind. Houses make noises during storms, right? But then it happened again, louder this time. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, deliberate, like someone wanted me to hear it. I tried to laugh it off. It's nothing, I told myself. But when I got up to check the door, there was this weird chill in the air. It didn't feel like the wind anymore. It felt wrong. I grabbed my flashlight and opened the basement door just a crack. The light barely reached the bottom of the stairs, but I could see something. Footprints, muddy footprints, leading up the stairs. They stopped halfway, right where I was standing. My heart was pounding. I was sure no one else was home. I hadn't been to the basement all day, so where did they come from? Then I saw it. Something moved. Just for a second, but enough to make me slam the door shut and lock it. I stumbled back, trying to catch my breath. My mind was racing. Who was down there, or what was down there? I called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" No response, but then I heard it. A whisper. A voice so faint I almost thought I was imagining it. It said,
"You shouldn't have opened the door."
I ran to the front door, desperate to get out of the house, but when I tried to unlock it, the key wouldn't turn. The door wouldn't budge. It was like something didn't want me to leave. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, heavy steps coming up the basement stairs. I didn't know what to do. My phone was on the couch. I couldn't even call for help. The footsteps stopped right on the other side of the door. And then, it opened. But there was no one there. That's when I noticed something. On the wall, written in muddy smears, were the words, "I am still here." I don't know how I got through that night. I ended up locking myself in my room until morning. When the sun came up, the words were gone, the footprints were gone, and the basement door was shut like nothing had happened. But I know what I saw. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I can still hear those footsteps coming up the stairs. I don't know why I opened that door. I should have minded my business. I should have ignored the sounds, but once I stepped inside, I realized I had made a mistake I can never take back. I had just moved into my new apartment. It was small, cheap, and most importantly, quiet. The only neighbor I ever saw was the old woman next door. She was nice enough. Friendly, but strange. She told me one evening,
"Oh, don't mind the noise at night. My dog gets a little restless."
I never saw the dog, but I heard it. The first night it was scratching. Faint at first, just a soft drag of nails across the wall, then it got louder, more frantic. The sound moved, starting from one side of the wall, then shifting, all closer. I told myself it was just a dog, a big one. Maybe he was restless, just like she said. But the sound didn't stop. It went on for hours. And then, just as I started drifting off, it changed. I woke up around 3 a.m. My room was silent, but I wasn't alone. I could hear something. It was breathing, not like a dog. There was no panting, no sniffing. This was slow, deep, human. And the worst part? It matched my own. When I inhaled, it inhaled. When I held my breath, it stopped. It was listening. It started again. It was listening. I pressed my ear against the wall, my skin crawling, and then... I jumped back so fast I nearly fell out of bed. That wasn't the pipes, that wasn't a dog, someone had knocked. I barely slept that night. The next evening, I was on edge, anticipating another night of fear. I was terrified. I knew the night was coming, and I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. Then I heard movement outside. I peeked through my peephole and saw the old woman. She was leaving her apartment, locking the door behind her. I stepped outside. "Where are you going?" I asked, my voice hesitant. She smiled, that same warm, eerily calm smile.
"Groceries."
"Sure," she said. Then she walked off, disappearing down the hall. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I just needed to see. To prove to myself there was nothing wrong. I stood frozen at the doorway, my hand hovering over the handle. Sweat beaded on my forehead, my breath coming in short, uneven gasps. The apartment beyond was pitch black, the hallway stretching into a void. I forced myself forward, one hesitant step inside, and the stench hit me like a punch to the gut. My stomach twisted. My body screamed at me to turn back. But I didn't. I kept going. There was rotting food, sweat, something sour, something old. It was the kind of smell that clung to the back of your throat, made your stomach twist, made you feel like the air itself was tainted. I swallowed hard and took another step forward. The dim light from the hallway barely reached inside. I had to blink, adjusting to the shadows, but the more I looked, the worse it got. The place was a wreck. Newspapers, hundreds of them, were stacked to the ceiling, some torn and yellowed, others crumpled like someone had been clutching them in their hands for hours. Plates sat on every available surface, crusted over with food so old it had turned black and hard. Flies buzzed in the air, their tiny wings breaking the silence like distant whispers. I stepped further in. Crunch. I looked down. Bones. Small ones. Chicken? Something else? I wasn't sure. There were clothes everywhere, piled in corners, stained, ripped, as if someone had been wearing them for years without washing them. Some were bundled up like a nest. And then I saw the scratches. Not just a few. Dozens. Hundreds. The walls were covered in them. Long, deep claw marks that tore into the paint, exposing the wood underneath. But it didn't stop there. I looked down. The floor. Gashes. Deep, uneven grooves dug into the wood like someone had been dragging their nails across it over and over in the same spot for days. Weeks. Years. Then I turned to my right. The closet door. Scratches on the inside. I took a step closer, my pulse hammering. The marks weren't random, they were concentrated around the doorknob. Desperate. Someone had been trapped inside. My throat went dry. My skin crawled. And then I saw him. His skin was pale, stretched too thin over his bones, almost translucent under the dim light. His cheeks were hollow, his lips cracked and dry, as if he hadn't had water in days. His hair, long and tangled, clumped together in greasy, matted strands that barely moved as he breathed. His eyes, wide, bulging, unblinking, locked onto me, filled with something unnatural. Not fear, not anger, something worse. a twisted kind of curiosity, a silent, hungry anticipation. His fingers twitched against the floor, nails long, dirty, curling at the edges, as if he had been clawing at something for years. Then, he smiled. The silence was unbearable. And then, a floorboard creaked behind me. The front door opened. The old woman was back. She saw him, and she smiled too. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Her presence filled the room like a cold draft, creeping through the cracks, sealing me inside with them.
Oh dear,
She said, her voice calm. Too calm. My legs refused to work. My body screamed at me to run, but I was frozen, caught in the moment between discovery and disaster. She stepped forward, the floor creaking beneath her slow, careful steps. She didn't look angry. She didn't look surprised. She looked pleased.
you weren't supposed to see him.
She murmured as if she were scolding a child. Her eyes flicked to the man in the corner. He hadn't moved, but his grin had widened, his fingers twitching against the floor. And then she did something that sent pure terror through my veins. She reached into her pocket and locked the door. Click. I don't remember how I got out. All I know is 1 second I was inside, the next I was bolting down the hallway, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I called the police. I could barely speak, the words tumbling out of my mouth between gasps. They searched the apartment. And this time it wasn't empty. They found him. The man. He had been living there, hiding in that apartment for years. The old woman knew. She had been feeding him, taking care of him, keeping him inside. And the worst part? She didn't see anything wrong with it. She didn't understand why they took him away. As they dragged him out, she just kept repeating, over and over.
He gets restless at night. He gets restless at night. He gets restless at night.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more chilling tales. Stay safe and check your walls.